didn't throw during the combine, but he is targeting critics.
Jesus, man. You need I am really despise
Josh, you get it?
rehearsals, but we might need warm-up shows when you've been gone.
Here he is, and how he's going to change the culture of whatever team drafts him. Take a listen.
I've been through 6 different OCs, so I'm able to adjust to any offense and every scheme and make it work. We went from Jackson State to Colorado and changed 2 programs back to back. So you don't think I could come to an NFL franchise and change the program again? It's history. We done it again. It's always going to repeat itself.
Okay. Coach, your reaction? You love force multiplying.
I do, and I do love his confidence, and I do love that that's his perspective. But I also think he's probably forgetting that he's not coming with his dad. And I think Deion probably had a pretty big part of changing Jackson State and changing Colorado. So unfortunately, he's not coming with him. And then you're not coming with Travis Hunter either. I feel like Travis had a pretty significant part of being able to change those programs as well. And there's a lot of things I like about Shedeur, but I do think that the sacks are a real problem. And I know that the sacks have been attributed primarily to his offensive line, but there's a bunch of times where he's holding the ball, he's running around, he's trying to make a play, it results in a sack, and he's sacked more than anybody else in college football. You try to do that in pro football. Caleb saw that adjustment. It's an issue, and I see elements of Caleb without the wow plays
That's what I was going to say.
Saw from Caleb.
You do see some of the concerns. You do see some of the highlights, but not
like Caleb.
No, and I'm glad you're saying it, not me, because I sound biased on it because I've been so high on Caleb since. Gosh, he was at Oklahoma, but I agree with that entirely. Like a lot of we have Shedeur clearly has the it factor. Mm-hmm. I think the confidence is super important. I don't look at that as brash or arrogant. I look at him as, a self-assured young man who has succeeded everywhere he's gone, and unlike a lot of highly touted guys who have a chance to go in the top 5, he was not expected to succeed at every level. Some of these guys are overcame a bunch of adversity, and it's well, as far as your sports career, you were the best player on the best team in high school and in college. That's not his story. So I like all of that. I don't love just the tape, so to speak, as much as other people do. And I am I'm not going to kill him on it's someone else's job to be like, man, this is pro football, not college football. You can't change stuff here. We have seen guys change stuff. Now he had D'Amico with him, changed it. Jaden, they took these terrible teams, and they were excellent or very good their first year. So that is doable in the NFL. I just don't know if he is a plug-and-play instant impact player. And I am very interested in this, the fact that how many videos have we seen of him dapping up Brian Daboll? He seemed to want the Giants, all of that stuff.
He had those Giants cleats.
Yes, if the Giants don't draft him, that's concerning. And then if the Raiders don't draft him at 6, which feels like that should be the bottom for him in his draft stock.
Yes.
Right?
I don't think he gets past the Raiders if he has this personal relationship with Brady, and Brady is.
Listen, I think he does. I think it's not. I think we know he has a personal relationship with Brady. That's very clear. But I have a personal relationship with you. I wouldn't hire you to coach my flag football team.
We should. I'll change the culture around right away.
And so, I just you seem.
The confidence in the personal relationship is only going to go so far. And, for Tom, he's an owner of a team now. He's a different level of responsibility.
Yeah,
and as much as he may like him, he's got to fundamentally believe that maybe even if he's not ready right now, that he can eventually ascend into a franchise quarterback. If you're taking him that high, don't see the same level of accuracy that you saw with Jaden. There's a lot of throws that are off target where the receiver has to adjust. There's some chances that he took that you don't love. And there's some sort of 50-50 balls that he threw up but he was throwing them up to Travis Hunter, who made some unbelievable catches.
Yeah, but Malik Neighbors can make those catches, right?
Yeah, but you don't want that to be the bread and butter, where you just got to throw it up to the best guy and he goes and makes a catch.
And you're not, yeah.
You want to be able to
And it's
place
not
enough
Big
balls
12
for the guys
defenses.
that aren't Malik Neighbors.
There's to me a lot of concerns, and I want to make this very clear, because far too often during draft stuff, at least to me, it feels like guys who we don't really know a lot about their character, we say there's character concerns. I have none of those with this kid. Kevin Clark told a great story about him. Everyone that's been around him tells these great stories about him. I'm not worried about that. I think that he probably got out ahead of himself a bit with some of the tweets about former teammates a year ago. I think he's matured since then. Seems like a great kid. My concerns with him are all football related, and there was something else in this interview that he was asked about people that have Cam Ward number ahead of him. And he was like, yeah, there's going to be haters, everywhere. And I was like, man, that's a tough one, because there's a little blurring of like fair opinion criticism versus hating that I think a lot of people have trouble, figuring out. But it also made me think of how much of not having Deion around to almost be a criticism sponge is going to impact him. So like, when I think Deion did a great job as coach and father of, if there was ever any like air or room to go at one of his players, he turned it all on himself. And he, you know what I mean? And sometimes you do silly stuff, like tell that reporter, like, I'm not answering questions from your outlet. Like, do things that I think Deion's a really bright guy. I think it was intentional to move the spotlight towards him and keep scrutiny off his players. He's not going to have that in the pros.
I know we joked around about this earlier in the show, this Will Howard
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
viral video.
I set it up just for you, buddy.
No, we joked around about it because I was like, this is a huge story. And you're like, I don't know, Will Howard's combine, he's not supposed to go super high. It was fair. The story was Will Howard had a bad combine. Shedeur tweets out like, this guy just won a national championship. It's one. He had his back. Came to the defense of another quarterback in the combine that I didn't know he had a relationship with. Maybe he does a great relationship. I don't think he does. But to me, it just showed ultra leadership, coach, where he's like, you know what? I'm going to ride for all the quarterbacks at the combine.
Oh, I
thought it was a great, and I know these things are like little anecdotes, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's positive that he's being supportive of other guys, and I do think his confidence is sincere, and I don't feel like it's arrogance. It doesn't come off as that at all, which to me is a very important distinction, especially for the leader of your franchise. But this process is all about finding flaws and finding out where a guy fits. You're also going to look at his positive traits as well. But where does the guy fit? And there's a bunch of criticism that goes into this draft process. So this isn't going to be the first or last time any of these guys are scrutinized.
This is the rare, potential, top 3 quarterback pick where, for me at least, the questions are all measurables. Like his immeasurables, leadership, character, all those, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think he gets super high marks across the board in that stuff. I have real questions about him as a high-level NFL quarterback. You know what I mean? As far as the on-the-field stuff. And the Giants being interested in Aaron Rodgers set off alarm bells for me. Because nothing's easier than taking him, like you said, kind of resetting your own clock. You don't have to trade up, all of that. And if they're not wanting to, it makes me worry that does the media have him rated higher than NFL teams? Well,
the things change dramatically, too, from the combine to the draft. I mean, this list will be
also, before we move on,
over.
Yeah.
Josh owes me $100.
For what?
Why?
Because I bet him, I gave him 10-1 odds, that you would find a way to bring up the Shedeur tweet into the show, even if we didn't have the graphic built.
It's a great story.
And you've brought it up twice, and I think it's coming up in Weird and
Wonderful. Josh bet $100 on it?
Well, it was 100 to 1,000. But I laid 10 to 1, but I knew it was it's easy.
It's a great story.
It is a good story. I'm glad you brought it up.
Thank you, Coach. Shedeur's Colorado teammate Travis Hunter was asked about playing